As the Thompson family set out on their dream road trip along the fabled Route 66, they envisioned a journey filled with nostalgic diners, scenic vistas, and family bonding. But the Mother Road holds darker secrets, whispers of lost souls, vanishing towns, and spectral hitchhikers who never leave. With each mile, the desolate highway tightens its grip, drawing them into a chilling nightmare where reality blurs and escape seems impossible. Will they conquer the cursed road, or become its next eternal travelers? The sun hung low in the sky as the Thompson family embarked on their long-awaited road trip along Route 66, the legendary Mother Road stretching from Chicago to Los Angeles. John, the father, gripped the steering wheel with excitement, while his wife, Sarah, unfolded a worn map in the passenger seat. Their two children, Emily and Jack, bounced in the back, chattering about the adventures ahead. The highway promised history, diners, and endless vistas, but as they left the bustling city behind, a subtle unease began to creep in. The road unfurled like a ribbon through forgotten landscapes, dotted with faded billboards and rusted signs whispering of bygone eras. John tuned the radio to a static-filled station playing old folk tunes, trying to drown out the growing silence outside. Sarah glanced at the darkening clouds gathering unnaturally fast, as if the sky itself was conspiring against them. The children pointed at distant mesas, but their laughter felt forced, echoing hollowly in the car. As they approached a small, nameless town, the traffic vanished entirely, leaving the highway eerily deserted. John joked about it being a ghost town, but Sarah shivered, sensing eyes watching from the shadowed buildings. The air grew thick with the scent of dust and decay, and the wind whispered through cracked windows like faint, unintelligible voices. Emily clutched her doll tighter, whispering that she felt something wrong. The family pulled over at a roadside viewpoint, stepping out to stretch their legs amid the vast emptiness. Jack ran ahead, kicking pebbles, but froze when he thought he saw a figure standing motionless in the distance. When he blinked, it was gone, leaving only swirling dust devils. Sarah called him back, her voice sharper than intended, as the temperature dropped inexplicably despite the summer heat. Back in the car, they continued westward, the engine humming steadily, but the atmosphere inside shifted. John noticed the fuel gauge dipping faster than expected, attributing it to the incline, yet doubt gnawed at him. Sarah tried to read a guidebook aloud, but the words blurred under the dimming light. The children grew quiet, staring out at the barren plains where shadows lengthened like grasping fingers. Night approached sooner than anticipated, the sun dipping below the horizon in a blood-red haze. Headlights pierced the gloom, illuminating fleeting glimpses of abandoned vehicles by the roadside, their windows shattered like broken promises. Emily asked if they could turn back, her small voice trembling, but John assured her it was just the thrill of the unknown. Deep down, he wondered if the road was alive, pulling them deeper into its secrets. The first drops of rain splattered the windshield, unusual for the arid stretch, turning the dust to mud. Sarah wiped the fog from her window, peering into the blackness, convinced she saw movement paralleling their path. Jack hummed a tune to calm himself, but it faltered when the radio crackled with interference, broadcasting snippets of old news reports about disappearances along the route. As they pressed on, the town lights flickered faintly ahead, promising shelter, but the buildings looked decrepit, as if time had forsaken them. John accelerated slightly, eager to leave the oppressive quiet behind, yet the road seemed to stretch endlessly. Sarah hugged her arms, feeling an icy chill seep into her bones, unrelated to the weather. The family, once buoyant, now sat in tense silence, the journey's beginning already tainted by foreboding. The clouds thickened, blotting out the stars, and thunder rumbled distantly like a warning. Emily whispered about dreams she'd had the night before, of endless roads leading nowhere. Jack nodded, admitting he'd felt the same. John dismissed it as travel jitters, but his knuckles whitened on the wheel. Little did they know, the Mother Road was awakening, ready to reveal its haunted legacy. Finally, as the odometer ticked onward, the family crossed into the heart of the forgotten town, its streets empty and echoing. Street lamps buzzed faintly, casting elongated shadows that danced unnaturally. Sarah suggested finding a place to rest, but the options looked grim. The journey had just begun, yet the horror was already threading its way into their souls. Exhaustion weighed heavily on the Thompsons as they spotted the flickering neon sign of the Sunset Motel, a relic from Route 66's heyday. John pulled into the gravel lot, the tires crunching like bones underfoot. The building sagged with age, paint peeling like shedding skin, and the office light glowed dimly through grimy windows. Sarah hesitated, but the children were already dozing, so they had no choice. The owner, an elderly man named Mr. Hargrove, emerged from the shadows, his smile too wide, eyes too shadowed. He handed over a rusted key for room 13, chuckling about it being lucky tonight. His voice rasped like sandpaper, and he lingered a moment too long, staring at the family as if memorizing their faces. John thanked him curtly, ushering everyone inside. The room smelled of mildew and stale cigarettes, the wallpaper curling at the edges like secrets unfolding. Sarah tucked the children into the sagging beds, their small forms sinking into the musty mattresses. John checked the locks, but the door creaked open slightly on its own as if inviting something in. Outside, the wind howled, rattling the thin panes. As midnight approached, sleep evaded them. Emily stirred, whispering about footsteps in the hallway. Jack bolted upright, eyes wide, claiming he heard them too, slow, deliberate paces stopping right outside their door. John rose, heart pounding, and peered through the peephole, seeing only empty darkness. But the knob rattled faintly as if tested by unseen hands. Sarah pulled the covers tighter, dismissing it as the building settling, but doubt flickered in her eyes. The footsteps resumed, heavier now, circling the room like a predator. The children huddled together, tears welling, while John armed himself with a lamp, ready to confront whatever lurked. Yet when he flung the door open, the corridor was vacant, save for a chill draft. Back inside, the walls seemed to close in, the air growing colder. Strange scratches appeared on the mirror, faint at first, like nails dragging across glass. Sarah wiped them away, but they reappeared, forming indecipherable symbols. The family tried to sleep, but whispers seeped from the vents, murmuring names they couldn't quite hear. Dawn broke gray and foreboding, the sun struggling through heavy clouds. Mr. Hargrove greeted them with that same unnerving smile, asking if they'd slept well. John lied, eager to leave, but Sarah noticed the owner's hands trembling slightly. As they packed, Emily found an old photograph under the bed, a faded image of a family much like theirs, smiling blankly. Driving away, the motel shrank in the rearview mirror, but the unease lingered. Jack complained of headaches, visions flashing behind his eyes. Sarah felt watched, glances over her shoulder revealing nothing. The first encounter had marked them, embedding fear like a seed in fertile soil. The road ahead blurred with rain, but the footsteps echoed in their minds. John accelerated, hoping distance would erase the night, yet the whispers followed, faint but persistent. Emily clutched her doll, now convinced it blinked when no one looked. The horror was building, one step at a time. By midday, the family stopped for breakfast, but appetites were gone. Sarah pondered telling John about the cold spot she'd felt on her arm during the night, like a hand gripping her. They pressed on, unaware that the motel was just the beginning, a gateway to deeper terrors on the Mother Road. Night fell swiftly as the Thompsons navigated a desolate stretch of Route 66, headlights cutting through inky blackness. Rain pounded the roof like insistent fingers, and visibility dropped to mere feet. John gripped the wheel, eyes straining, while Sarah scanned the edges for dangers. The children slept fitfully in the back, dreams plagued by shadows. Suddenly, a figure materialized in the beam, a young woman in a white dress, drenched and clutching a small bag. She stood motionless, thumb extended in the universal hitchhiker's pose. John slowed, debating, but Sarah urged him to stop, pity overriding caution. The woman approached silently, her pale face illuminated ghostly in the lights. She slid into the back seat without a word, water dripping from her like tears. Emily stirred but didn't wake, while Jack mumbled in sleep. The stranger stared out the window, expression vacant, as if lost in another world. John asked her name, destination, but she remained mute, only nodding faintly toward the road ahead. The car filled with a chill that no heater could dispel, fogging the windows from within. Sarah glanced back, noting the woman's dress seemed outdated, like from decades past. Unease prickled her skin as the hitchhiker's reflection in the mirror flickered unnaturally, almost translucent. John accelerated, eager to reach the next town. Miles ticked by in oppressive silence, broken only by the wiper's rhythmic swipe. The woman shifted slightly, her bag rustling like dry leaves. Jack woke briefly, eyes widening at the stranger, but sleep pulled him under again. Sarah tried conversation, but the words died in her throat, choked by growing dread. At a foggy intersection, the car jolted over a pothole, and Sarah turned to check on the hitchhiker. The seat was empty, the door still locked, no trace of water or presence. John slammed on the brakes, heart racing as they searched frantically. The bag was gone too, vanished like mist. Panic surged as they realized she'd disappeared without a sound, without opening the door. Emily screamed, claiming she'd seen the woman fade away like smoke. John restarted the engine, tires screeching into the night, but the intersection felt wrong, as if looped in time. Whispers echoed from the back seat now, faint pleas for help. Sarah clutched John's arm, tears streaming, while the children huddled in fear. The rain intensified, thunder cracking like laughter. They drove on, but the phantom's gaze lingered in their minds, empty and accusing. Later, at a diner, they overheard locals murmuring about the lady in white, a ghost haunting hitchhikers since the 1950s. John dismissed it as folklore, but doubt festered. Sarah felt her touch still, icy and eternal. The encounter had bound them to the road's spectral history. As dawn approached, the family vowed to forget, but the empty seat mocked them. Route 66 claimed another piece of their sanity, the hitchhiker a harbinger of horrors to come. They sped westward, shadows lengthening behind. The aftermath of the vanishing hitchhiker left the Thompsons in a shroud of silence, the car hurtling through endless night. John pushed the accelerator, desperate to outrun the memory, but the road twisted like a serpent, unyielding. Sarah stared at the dashboard, pulse racing, while the children whispered fears to each other. Loneliness enveloped them, the highway a void swallowing all sound. Engine troubles began subtly, a sputter here, a hesitation there. John cursed under his breath, checking gauges that fluctuated wildly. The headlights dimmed intermittently, casting erratic shadows on the asphalt. Sarah suggested pulling over, but the shoulders were non-existent, cliffs dropping into abyss on one side. Paranoia crept in as Emily pointed out shapes darting just beyond the light, humanoid figures pacing the car. Jack nodded, describing pale faces peering in. When the parents looked, nothing. The air thickened with unspoken terror, the family isolated in their metal cocoon. The radio burst to life unbidden, static laced with garbled voices pleading for escape. John switched it off, but it reactivated, volume swelling. Sarah covered her ears, tears flowing as the children cried out. The loneliness amplified every creak, every bump. Miles blurred into eternity, no signs of civilization. The fuel needle plunged alarmingly, defying logic. John slowed, conserving, but the engine coughed in protest. Shadows outside seemed to close in, pressing against the windows like eager spectators. Emily screamed, claiming hands slapped the glass. Scratches appeared on the exterior, long and deliberate. Jack buried his face in his hands, muttering prayers. Sarah reached back to comfort them, her own fear mirroring theirs. The road was alive, hunting. A distant light flickered, perhaps a town, but it vanished as they approached. Despair settled like fog. John gripped Sarah's hand, whispering assurances he didn't believe. The loneliness was a weapon, eroding their resolve. Finally, the engine stabilized, but the damage was done. Paranoia festered, each glance outside revealing glimpses of the unseen. The children refused to look up, haunted by invisible watchers. Route 60's solitude was its curse, binding them in isolation. As morning light pierced the gloom, relief was fleeting. The road stretched on, lonely and unforgiving. Sarah wondered if they'd ever escape its grasp. The family drove in silence, the horror deepening with every mile. The lonely road had claimed their peace, leaving only dread in its wake. They pressed forward, unaware of the terrors awaiting in the shadows ahead. Low on fuel, the Thompsons spotted a dilapidated gas station ahead, its sign creaking in the wind like a death rattle. John pulled in, the pumps rusted and ancient, surrounded by weeds choking the concrete. An old man shuffled out, his face weathered like cracked leather, eyes milky with age. He grunted a greeting, voice like gravel. As the tank filled, Sarah scanned the surroundings, empty shelves in the attached store, dust coating everything. The children stayed in the car, doors locked, watching warily. The old man, Elias, mumbled incoherently about lost travelers, his hands shaking as he handled the nozzle. Inside the station, John paid, noticing faded photos on the wall of smiling patrons from eras past. Elias avoided questions, staring past him into the void. A chill wind blew through, slamming a door shut, and shadows shifted unnaturally behind the counter. Back outside, Emily pointed at the windows, silhouettes moving inside, despite Elias being alone. Jack gasped, describing translucent figures pumping gas in loop. When Sarah looked, they vanished, leaving only reflections of their frightened faces. The engine roared to life, But as they pulled away, the rearview showed Elias waving slowly, his form flickering like a bad signal. Whispers emanated from the vents, echoing his raspy voice warning of the road ahead. Miles later, the gas seemed tainted, the car jerking sporadically. Sarah recalled Elias's eyes, devoid of life, perhaps a ghost himself. The children drew pictures of the station, haunted by the shadows. Paranoia mounted as similar stations appeared in dreams that night. John dismissed it, but doubt lingered. The ghost of the gas station followed, a spectral reminder of isolation. Fuel dwindled faster, forcing reflection on the encounter. Elias's words replayed, "They never leave." The family felt marked, the station a portal to the damned. As dusk fell, shadows danced on the horizon, mimicking the figures. Terror gripped them, the ghost's presence palpable. Route 60 SIX's spirits were awakening. The encounter etched fear deeper, the gas station a graveyard of souls. They drove on, haunted by the unseen. Desperate for respite, the Thompsons entered Willow Creek, a quaint town off Route 66, its streets lined with antique shops. They parked near a diner, stomachs growling, but the air hung heavy with silence. No birds sang, no people stirred, it felt like stepping into a photograph. Inside the diner, patrons sat frozen, staring at plates, ignoring the newcomers. The waitress poured coffee mechanically, eyes glazed. John ordered, voice echoing unnaturally, but no response came. Sarah shivered, urging departure, the children's hands clammy in hers. Exiting, the street had changed, alleys twisted, buildings shifted. Their car was gone, vanished into thin air. Panic rose as they wandered, calls unanswered, the town looping like a maze. Old newspapers fluttered by, headlines of disappearances decades old. Emily cried, spotting ghostly children playing in faded yards. Jack pulled away, but paths led back to the diner. Time warped. Daylight faded prematurely, stars wheeling overhead. Shadows whispered names, drawing them deeper. Sarah clutched John, fear choking her. A clock tower chimed erratically, hours passing in minutes. Buildings decayed before their eyes, vines claiming walls. The family huddled, praying for escape. Finally, a glimmer, the car reappeared, engine running. They fled, but the town lingered in mirrors, vanishing behind. Horror clung, the place a trap for souls. Reflections showed extra figures in the back seat. The vanishing town had stolen pieces of them. Driving away, reality blurred. Willow Creek was a limbo, eternal. The experience scarred them, Route 60 SIX's illusion strengthening. Relief was short-lived as wind howled around the car, carrying whispers like distant conversations. John cracked a window, but the voices intensified, murmuring secrets. Sarah closed it, heart racing, the sound persisting. The whispers called names, Emily, Jack, luring them. The children covered ears, terrified. Night deepened, wind battering like hands. Phrases emerged, join us, stay forever. John accelerated, but the wind pursued, rattling the frame. Sarah confided fears to John, voices mimicking her doubts. Paranoia grew, trust eroding. Wind-shaped faces outside, ethereal and pleading. Emily screamed, wind tugging her hair through vents. The family sang to drown it, but whispers harmonized mockingly. Exhaustion set in, visions blurring. Dawn silenced it temporarily, but echoes remained. The whispering wind had invaded their minds. Conversations halted, suspicion rising. The road's curse amplified isolation. As evening returned, whispers resumed, stronger. Terror peaked, the wind a harbinger. They endured, but the whispers promised more horrors, eternal companions on the journey. Midnight jolts awoke them, screams piercing the air, footsteps thundering. John stopped the car, peering into darkness. Figures emerged, translucent wanderers with hollow eyes, drifting aimlessly. The lost souls moaned, hands outstretched, begging. Emily hid, Jack frozen in terror. Sarah prayed, the air icy. The engine stalled, stranding them amid the apparitions. Souls circled, faces contorted in agony, stories of Route 66 tragedies flashing. One soul approached, a childlike figure whispering please. John tried starting the car, failing repeatedly. Hours passed in siege, souls pressing against glass, leaving frost handprints. The family huddled, sharing warmth and fear. As dawn neared, souls faded, but the engine revived. They sped away, haunted by the encounters. The lost souls' despair clung, dreams filled with their wails. Sanity frayed. Reflections showed extra eyes watching. The night had bound them to the damned. Driving on, silence reigned, the horror indelible. Route 66 revealed its graveyard, the family now part of its lore. In the abyss, a stranger appeared, flagging them down. Tall and cloaked, he offered aid, voice calm amid chaos. He spoke of Route 60 SIX's curse, souls trapped by ancient rites. The man Elias, wait, same name? Perhaps a ghost. Described a ritual to break free, chants at midnight crossroads facing death without fear. John skeptized, but desperation won. The stranger provided symbols to draw, warnings of failure meaning eternal entrapment. They prepared, hearts pounding as night fell. The ritual demanded one volunteer, unafraid of mortality. Sarah stepped forward. At the crossroads they chanted, wind swirling, souls manifesting. Sarah confronted visions of death, steadfast. Power surged, darkness recoiling. The stranger vanished, perhaps a spirit guide. Relief washed as the road cleared. But doubt lingered, was it real? The ritual scarred them, a brush with the abyss. Driving forward, freedom tasted bitter, the curse loosened but not broken. The dark ritual saved them, yet haunted forever. If you love this chilling tale, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe and ring the bell, so you never miss our dark, spine-tingling horror stories from every corner of the globe.